Hello, my name is Greg Madison, and this is The Living Process. Welcome back. I'm really happy to say that this time my guest is Christiane Geiser. Christiane is very well known in the person-centered world and the focusing world in Switzerland, Europe, and internationally. She was there kind of at the beginning as the community and the understanding of focusing was developing. And she talks a little bit about some of those early years and the way that they tried to teach themselves focusing, as well as starting to teach other therapists focusing, kind of what's important to her in the way of teaching focusing. We talk a little bit about the structure bound process, which some of her work describes. And then we end with a little bit of a discussion of what's important at this point in her life and sort of more of the existential questions of how to reconcile one's wanting with one's possibilities. Yeah, so I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you do too. Christiane Geiser. Welcome back. I'm very pleased that today I have Christiane Geiser as my guest. You're very well known in the focusing world. You've been a part of focusing for a very long time, and person-centered therapy, and focusing-oriented therapy, and teaching, and the coordinator community. So a lot of people will know you. But I like to start by asking just how did you get into focusing? How did you find out about Gendlin or yeah, what brought you into this community?
Yes, I anticipated, of course, as a listener to your podcast, this question. Hello, Greg.
Hi.
Finally.
Yeah, lovely to be here with you.
Okay, so I will start. I was thinking during the last week, where was the beginning, you know?
Hmm.
And I think it's not one beginning, it's a kind of process to meet focusing for the first time, and then how it went on and on and on until now.
Yeah.
But the very beginning was around 1980, long ago,
Okay.
when my then partner, Ernst Juchli, later my husband, and Johannes Wilczko from Austria, or Munich then, met for the first time, and they planned to do a training together. As in the training institute my husband ran at this time, there was no person-centered person for the training.
Hmm.
They were body therapists or analytically with an analytic background. And then they met and they talked to each other, and then they thought, oh, let's do it together. And then the next time Johannes came back from the USA with Gendlin's focusing some of the papers, papers in this time
Hmm.
before the internet, just printed out, unreadable, copied, and told us that this is something fascinating he wanted to include in this training. And from then on, we had around 10 years kind of working friendship, the three of us, and over time there were more people. And what we did, and this is interesting, as I didn't learn focusing as a, ready thing. I
Hmm.
put it into something I knew. We discovered it in a way together. And I had a person-centered training with focusing included. And what we did all the time in the next years was a mixture of reading, trying to understand, making partnership focusing together.
Hmm.
The two of us, the three of us, thinking about it afterwards, discussing, not understanding, reading, all the circle of understanding, reading, trying out, making experiments, translating was a beginning of translating. And this kind of togetherness in
Mhm.
finding out something new
Mhm.
is for me, when I think back, the most
Mhm.
important thing around all this focusing.
Mhm.
Is until now, we did it in various groups of people and colleagues. It was always this finding out together, trying out, thinking about it,
Mhm.
and sharing this intellectual pleasure and the doing it and
Yeah,
learning by doing, how different we all learn, how differently we all teach.
yeah.
Always starting a new cycle when a new or something new was coming up.
So let me just say that back to you, because that I immediately get a sense of that as you're talking about it, that what felt special, perhaps, in the way that you learned focusing was it's not like you went to a workshop and someone taught you how to focus. You had the papers, and together in your small group originally, you became your own teachers and you kept going back and forth between the text and the practice and sort of what worked, what didn't work. That
Mhm.
sounds exciting.
Yes, it's exactly this,
Mhm.
becoming our own teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had some texts, we
Hmm.
had ourselves, we had this practice, we had this theory, and we
Hmm.
tried to bring it together.
Hmm.
And then after after some years, we tried to teach it
Hmm.
to colleagues, to other, yeah, to give it away, the part we understood so far.
Yeah.
And then we tried to develop it further while teaching it.
So obviously you were getting something that felt worth sharing.
Mhm.
I'm curious, what were you discovering in that process?
I think two things come to my mind. Something for me personally, I rediscovered things I knew
Hmm.
from myself, from just being in the world,
Yeah.
and thought, oh, this is called focusing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember some of your guests say this. There was something before, and then I had a name for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to tell later on how I had my difficulties to learn it myself. But this was a personal thing, how I needed to be taught. So,
Hmm.
and the other thing was this kind of freshness or courage or stubbornness Jean had sometimes in his way of thinking and way of talking. And there was this feeling of it's worth it to go with it and to learn more.
Hmm. Yeah, there was something about what you were already experiencing and what you were reading that it was clear there was something to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was for all of us and all people who came. There was something which in the beginning when something new comes up in the psychotherapy world, it could have been a flop, just a hype or
Yeah.
something. And sometimes we talked to each other when we had our summer schools and winter schools and all these offshoots, you say, like plants.
Hmm.
There's everywhere. We thought, oh, maybe uh, it's over next year. But more and more and more people wanted to learn it. And each time when we started anew, we at the first evening we were standing there or sitting there and asking each other, how did we do it last year? How did we experience? tell me, how did we do it? And then, of course, we all laughed and said, okay, it in a way belongs to focusing that we don't know, and we have to start
Yeah.
anew. And this kept us going. Just it was joyful.
Hmm.
It was work, of course, but it was a kind of joyful work and a very um, collegial. It was not
Hmm.
a top-down
Yeah.
thing of organization. We tried, and in the pauses in between, we talked about it. How did it function this time? So we did it. Tried it out this way.
Hmm.
Let's talk about it. And so we learned. It was a continuous learning process.
Yeah, I love that. You weren't trying to repeat something that you had seen. It was this constant discovery.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that sounds great. So you started to spread it, people started to get interested. And
Mhm.
this was within the person-centered community, so it was therapists or
Yes, in a way, it's mainly it was Johannes who he was together with Agnes then, Agnes Wild and Friedhelm Köhne. The three of them were the first coordinators.
Mhm.
They did most of the whole organization, and then over time we did it together, and then we made our own things. It was a long history, but it was always trying out, finding new ways.
Yeah.
And the organizational stuff was not so important.
Yeah.
In the beginning, of course, when it came to official trainings, we had to think about a training structure.
Hmm.
But in a way, we did this together until now. There's a network
Hmm.
thinking every year, should we go on like we did it last year, or should we change something?
Hmm.
And so it stays fresh.
Yeah. So
Mm.
that the kind of the experimental nature of it continues.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
that's nice.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious, you said that you, and I think I read a little bit about this, that you didn't say it this way, but the way that I was thinking was that you found you had to teach people how to teach you focus.
Yes, yes, yes. When I learned it as part of my person-centered training, I found it so easy to be a companion in the search for other people. I just had to listen. I just had to re- say back or ask, and the process was so smoothly going that I thought, oh, okay. But when I tried it myself, it was not in the beginning, but when it was mainly a person-centered trying out of saying back. But when after a while, this six-step focusing, when the book came out and we all were sitting there with these six steps
Uh-huh.
and trying to do this in the order, from one to six. And of course, after 10 minutes, we found out it's a cyclic thing. It's someone loses his cleared space and we have to begin from, we have to start from the beginning. And this was a learning process as well. But then I think there was some routine coming in, and uh, many people react. And of course, Jean showed us how to do it when he always, or in all his videos, he says something like, go inside, go deep down into your body, go down there. And of course, this was something we tried to understand and asked people, and many of them found something
Mhm.
inside. There's then the whole question of inside, outside, all these philosophical things. But in a practical way, I never found something. And people came out from in there with pictures, with feelings, with, I don't know, with
Mhm.
clear things.
Mhm.
And I stayed in a kind of vagueness and didn't find a way out. It wasn't clearer
Hmm.
afterwards. It was this nothing which stayed with me for a long time, for I think 2 years. I thought, okay, I understand it in a way, but it's nothing that I can use for my own
Hmm.
development. And then a colleague, not a trainer, not a therapist, we did it, of course, between us. Uh, when he tried again, and I said, it's just nothing, with this maybe gesture.
Hmm.
He said, oh, that's interesting. What is this nothing like? And I remember it's such a long distance, but I immediately remember this kind of shock, this as in a positive way, this kind of enlightenment for, aha, you can ask a nothing what it is. Of course, I knew things about it. I could explain it. I could talk about it endlessly, as it was a kind of home for me. This vague feeling. And then it's a kind of asking, it's a kind of doing this little small thing of pointing to something.
Yeah.
And in English, you can say this nice thing of making nothing to something,
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
This, I think, this, of course, I know something about this.
Yeah.
Nothing. I knew how that even I could do focusing.
It's interesting to me that you persevered for a couple of years, even though in your own focusing it felt like it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
What made you continue? I think a lot of people do come into the focusing world and then leave, and we don't see them again.
Yes. Okay, I was in this community, so to say, with all my friends and colleagues, and
Yeah.
I was the one who was a bit, with this vagueness. It wasn't something, it wasn't so important. But for me, it stayed, what is a Rätsel, a question, something.
Question. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe from time to time there were little glimpses of something,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
moods, or like no one asked after an atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
someone had asked me, I could have answered. I could have.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was just nothing, but it was not the things I waited for or other
Yes.
people had, and
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't find my own way then.
Yeah.
But of course, this was no question to go away. I wanted to stay with this interesting whole.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting that your colleague's invitation to notice it as though it was something worth noticing.
Exactly.
That was enough for you to begin
Yes.
to, yeah. Yeah. That's
From
interesting.
then on, it was clear, and it taught me a lot about how differently people learn and how
Yes.
differently people dwell in their, how they are with themselves or in the world,
Hmm.
and how you can ask for this, that it's really there.
Hmm. Hmm. So I'm wondering about the integration of it into the person-centered training. If it required sort of being able to go back and forth between something that was more than just focusing and incorporating focusing moments, or how did you end up sort of teaching it so that it had that flavor of person-centered?
It's interesting to think about it as a flavor, but for me or for us, the person-centered approach
Hmm.
was the, don't know, bigger one.
Yeah,
It was so
the
clear
foundation.
that we read everything Rogers had written and that we talked about it and that we learned how to
Yeah.
be with people in this way. And we learned about the attitudes and all these things.
Yes.
And then focusing was just a little something more, you know,
Okay.
that like they found out about both of them when they worked together in Chicago, when they listened to these not tapes, but these glass plates, whatever they had, where they could listen to it afterwards. And they listened to people who had a normal person-centered session, you
Mhm.
know, in the center there in Chicago. And then they stopped talking, and then they did something nobody knew what they were doing inside, and they came out with a new word or a new phrase
Mhm.
and then said, no, it's not like this. You know, all this we can read when we in this chapter 7 of Roger's book. And the people writing and talking about it afterwards said, what are they doing? They are doing something.
Mhm.
And then came out with, in the end, came up with, yes, that's exactly that. And how did they find it? And so this kind of, it's not only the therapist's attitude and the activity of saying back,
Mhm.
and the activity of asking and, you know, staying with in the client's word after every step. There must have been something more. And then the research about it was Gendlin's thing to find out, they are doing this, staying with something
Mhm.
and waiting for something, activities.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can teach them. And then after it was a very successful thing to teach them, of course, they found out, or they had the idea, Rogers and Gendlin, that they can teach this to all people, you know. And I think you remember there's a little video from, I think, 1986, where the very young Gendlin is enthusiastically describing how they did these trainings
Mhm.
period, first listening, then saying back a week long, and then they wanted to give it away, you
Yeah.
know. Giving therapy away was a political act then.
Mhm. Did you have that same interest when you were developing it, of giving it away and somehow?
Yes, I wouldn't say giving it away, which in this time they wanted to take it away from the, I don't know, psychiatrist or the things in
Hmm.
the time in the 1950s. When I'm teaching it, I want to enable our students in our institute, in our training institute, to have the full package. They can use it with whatever patients they have,
Hmm.
where they work, and to use it for themselves. As I
Yeah.
think therapists, we use it for ourselves to
Yeah.
find the resonance or to find a way to name something which is a relational thing between us.
Yeah.
So it's not giving it away, but to enable people to learn, or that clients can learn for themselves to use it at home.
Yes.
Yes, and we can use it between us, or we can use it even in running an organization like we did.
Hmm.
We talked about things like organization or about money, you know,
Hmm.
and someone raises his or her hand, we all were quiet, and I was, okay, go on. And so in exploring this something which made the person raise the hand, new things came up. So we can use it everywhere in a
Yeah.
way.
I'm curious about what feels important to you in your teaching of it, because I feel like there's some particular things you've developed or things that maybe stand out a little bit in the way you teach it. I'm wondering what you would say.
Hmm. I think it depends on where I am teaching. When I'm teaching it in the frame of a person-centered experiential training, like in our own institute,
Mhm.
uh, it's just a part of the, it isn't something which I have to teach specifically over a long time.
Okay.
I think you can get this little movement rather quickly. The philosophical part is harder to teach, but this is what I am doing with the students in trainings, of course,
Mm.
to, to grasp a little something of this background philosophy, like um, that we cannot look at us as closed units, that there's always a relationship, or this interaction first principle, or this environment 2 and 3 when you read the process model.
Yeah.
So breaking the philosophy down that they can understand. I think this is an important part. And with the people who could just come and want to learn focusing,
Mhm.
um, I ask what they want. I ask the organizers or I ask the networks what they want to learn from me. Getting older, I can ask what from my the things I know. Do you want to have for you your group? And sometimes people say there is something. We lost the freshness of it. We ask always the same things, or
Mhm.
we don't reach people. Some people learn it very quickly,
Mhm.
and then we lose people. Why? And this is interesting to find out.
Yeah.
As as I said, people learn so differently, and how to find out exactly what they need to stay.
Mhm. It sounds like you're saying two different things. Hmm. One is why might people leave a training or an opportunity to learn focusing more? And on the other hand, what makes it, you didn't say it this way, but almost degenerate into saying the same things all the time? Or, I mean, it's like something, as you were saying, it's like something fresh in the method, kind of this the spirit of it or something gets sacrificed to the practice of it or the method or something.
Yes, sacrifice is a big word, but I
Mhm.
think it's this direction
Mhm.
to yes, I will tell you an example. It's a confusion with the word body,
Okay.
of course, as Jean named two different things. Body is
Yeah.
our physical body and the body in situation.
Mhm.
There is very often a misreading or misinterpreting interpreting this of this
Mhm.
when people mean the body and situation where we have to focus into.
Mhm.
We have, Jean says it very clearly, we don't focus into our bodies inside, we focus into our situations.
Yeah.
But this sometimes get lost in training where people then understand, oh, I have to, it's a question of a precise language. Oh, I have to go inside and find something in my physical body. And of course, you can find things, but the question of how is it in relation to my situation
Mhm.
can get lost.
Mhm.
There, the language is a bit sloppy, I say, or a bit, you have to be precise. What body do we mean?
Yeah. That's interesting. Um, I was wondering if you also meant, but maybe you don't mean this, that sometimes in therapy there can be um, a tendency for something to become almost slightly ritualized and become almost like a technique.
Mhm.
And that at times maybe that's helpful, and I think it's very understandable. Um, but that maybe something is lost in that.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you feel like that.
Yes, yes. I don't find it, I don't, it's not so obvious in therapy, in the therapy training, as we are, of course, in supervision, we find it out immediately if someone tends to be repetitive, yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And, but in normal focusing trainings, focusing as such, there are many rituals we all know. And I just remembered something from last summer, the last year, or whenever, in our association, EFA, European Focusing Association. We meet once a year
Hmm.
with many people. And then we were together. And then there's always a question in the morning, who is doing the attunement? And attunement means someone says what we have to do, where we sit in a circle to start with the day.
Yeah.
This is always for me a slightly irritating thing. And this is very ritualized. Put your feet on the ground, close your eyes, breathe, put your attention into your body. And I don't belong to the people who learned it in a good way like this.
Hmm.
And so I sit there and think something or do something for my own. And then um, we had, there are always people we don't know. And there was a young colleague who came, his parents came from Norway. And we have our, at the moment, President Sari, who comes from Finland. And then they said, can I do it in my mother tongue? And then we were sitting there listening one day and the other day to someone in Norwegian and someone in Finnish, which I really had no clue at all.
Hmm.
And um, it was in a way very moving, unexpectedly, to sit there and listen to this sound and this melody and this music. And
Hmm.
in a way, we all know what to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Was it was totally free,
Hmm.
as in a way, I think what moved me was this feeling of there are people sitting together, preparing for the day
Hmm.
and preparing for being good colleagues to find out what we will be do together,
Hmm.
showing each other something or doing something together, and then coming back to the whole group. And we make ourselves ready for
Hmm.
the day in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you were sensing the situation, it sounds like.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it was perfect. It was
Hmm.
more than perfect. It was,
Hmm.
yeah, it was more than that. There was something more in it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can feel that. I don't know exactly why, but it does feel moving.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that.
So it's a little change to a ritual,
Hmm.
do it in a language I don't understand, and
Hmm.
it changes everything.
Hmm. Yeah, it lets you be free again
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, and let me remember, or it reminded me, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
And it's specific to be with focusing people.
yeah,
It's a difference. Or also at the big conferences,
yeah,
something is different.
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's really interesting. How would you invite someone like in a attunement, something like that? How
Mm.
would you invite someone to sense the situation rather than sensing into some separate self?
Yes, yes, exactly. I normally don't do it, but when I do it,
Yeah.
I think I would be very precise with my language. I would say those words as when we sense into the situation we are sitting together here.
Hmm.
What comes up or something
Hmm.
neutral, you know. I wouldn't um, use the word body.
Yeah.
And even with my clients or patients, I am very careful if I use this word, as there are people who, when they hear the word body, they are just, you
Yeah.
know. And in a group situation, I think I would use these words. We here as a group
Yes.
doing this thing together, preparing for the day.
Yes. So sort something like notice your sense of us being here together.
Yes, exactly, of us being here together.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. I'm increasingly uncomfortable with the word in
Yes.
in the body.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and this is what I share with Campbell Purton, my colleague who is Wittgenstein, like it was part of my university
Mhm.
degree in philosophy, and I finished my studies with the late Wittgenstein, and when we found out, Campbell and I, that we both are a little bit picky with language, with this
Mhm.
inside-outside thing from a
Mm.
philosophical point of view, it was very relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I say to people, it may work experientially, but it's not a philosophical claim.
Yes. And I think before I learned focusing, um, I never realized that my normal way of being always was
Yeah.
non-separated. You know, when I look outside, I look,
Mhm.
you can see it's green, and behind these trees, there's the river.
Nice.
And then I'm always with the sound, and there's the sky, and there's always this nature which I cannot separate myself. I'm a different person when I'm in a town or in a
Yeah, yeah,
when the curtains are drawn,
yeah.
like they were when I grew up in a city. My parents always had these double curtains, and I always wanted to open them to, you know, to be outside, to look outside. And this for me was a normal feeling. And when I learned focusing and I had to um, concentrate on only this part of me, and
Yeah.
then inside it was strange. I think in hindsight, in retrospect, I think this is why I didn't understand it in a deeper way. Of course, I could do it, I could learn it, but it wasn't my experience.
Well, I'm wondering if what you're saying is that maybe that was a part of why you were finding nothing, that there was
Mm.
something
I
odd
think
about.
yes, this is when I thought I will talk to you, and I think back. It came for the first time. I thought maybe this
Yeah.
is the explanation.
Yeah.
When I think back, why I was so unhappy, I think, but I can understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense, but in a way, it didn't make sense on a very
Yeah.
deep level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, translating uh, the process model helped, as in a philosophical way, the book starts with it, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
page,
Mhm.
there is this body environment.
Yeah.
And we, as all the things we do, we are reading the process model in a group, in a group of focusing people
Mhm.
over years, meeting each other and going through the chapters. And then afterwards, Donata and I translate it. And then it all made more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask just, and this is just out of my own ignorance because my background isn't person-centered,
I
it's
see. I know you're an
it's
existential.
existential. I'm never absolutely clear what the difference is,
Mhm.
but I know that one of the differences is I don't know the person-centered tradition that well. Maybe that's the only difference. But
Uh-huh.
so that's where the question's coming from. I was wondering if there's something in Gendlin's philosophy, the interaction first, this kind of, you might even say, he doesn't say it this way, but almost like the decentering of the subject, in that where this kind of open interaction, a person is interaction. If there's something about that way of understanding what a person is that is somehow different from the person-centered tradition, or the reason I ask is I often supervise people from different modalities, and if I supervise someone from a person-centered training, they often seem to really be clear about that person over there, their process over there. I don't want to get in the way of it, being extremely respectful, not being directive. And
Yes.
so just wondering if yeah, how the two went
Mm.
together.
Yes, it's an interesting question. And I think you are right in sensing this.
Tension or something.
Yes, anyway, it's a tension between the pure or classic or conservative,
Okay.
but the people we all know in the beginning it was more than nowadays. But you can find it even now.
Hmm.
Uh, and people were at the first person centered and experiential conference in Leuven then very hostile to, you can read it is a question and answer paragraph behind his lecture,
Uh-huh.
that he's directive, that he says what people have to do, and it is a no-go in the person-centered approach.
Okay.
And maybe I think over the years it loosens a bit, as of course it's much nearer than people thought. But when you read and when you listen, there is this, I, as a therapist, um, I only go into your world when you let me go. I don't intrude. I don't know what is right for you, of course. But this, in a way, gently only asked in saying back, did you realize what you said? Could you go once again?
Mhm.
Go back to your argument, to go back to the words you said, or does it cover the whole intricacy of your experiencing? This is philosophically said.
Mhm.
Question. In a way, it's only this.
Mhm.
And so there was no need for this split. But of course, when you concentrate on teaching this approach, and then these steps, and it's like a method, and
Mhm.
then people say no.
Yeah.
And of course, in the beginning, uh, Gendlin said that he learned it in Leuven from German Leiter and Mia and these people, that they send their clients to other people to learn focusing and then come back, which in the way we did as well in the beginning. We say, go to these focusing summer schools and then come back
Mhm.
to deepen your experiencing in this kind of being with themselves,
Yeah.
asking and responding to your responding, as Campbell says in a very nice phrase.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's only this, but it makes a difference.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I've often wondered if focusing should be marketed as a kind of pre-therapy before going into therapy, do a focusing course to get the most out of it.
Would be a nice experiment. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But can I ask, now that we're talking a little bit more about teaching therapists and the way that you do it, one of the things I really appreciate in your writing and your teaching is this emphasis on kind of the structure bound kind of process,
Mm.
because I don't think that gets very much attention.
I know.
And I don't
Mm.
think Jean gave it all that much attention.
No.
No. So I'm curious sort of how you've developed that, how you understand that.
Mhm. He gave it attention in a very some of the very first articles, 1955,
Yeah.
there is this the word structure bound.
Hmm.
And it's not a process, but it's a structure bound thing to repeat something and to read an old context into a new situation,
Hmm.
which is very easy to understand in a way. But he didn't dwell on it. He didn't
Yeah.
make uh, something out of it. And we did, as we all know from ourselves and from the people around us, how quickly things can get structure bound and how it destroys relationships and makes it difficult to learn or
Hmm.
to get better in therapy
Hmm.
or to be a good therapist. We use it, of course, as many of the young people who want to learn to be a therapist get stuck in this, oh, am I doing it right? And
Yeah.
oh, maybe I'm the one who is responsible when my client fails and all these things. And when they go on repeat, it's really you should do something about it. It's really, they are feeling bad. They could be, when they understand it, what it is all about, and try to think about it, feel in a different way with one of us,
Hmm.
supervisors, therapists. It could be so much better. And of course, it doesn't go away, our structure bound way of living or thinking or feeling. But with a bit of knowledge, I think to know something is crucial in this. I think, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And when we start to explore it in groups,
Hmm.
it was always every time moving again, people said, oh, I thought I'm the only one who thinks this way or feel these feelings. And people in the group say, here, and they are sitting at the desk together at the table and talk to each other. Ah, yes, oh, you know it as well. Oh, they say, um, uh, they are shocked that people are different.
Hmm.
And then they hear, we don't put a structure from the outside. We developed it uh, through asking people and asking again and again, tell us, it's your world. We have no idea. You have to tell us exactly what is going on inside,
Hmm.
what you do in your situations. And so we learned and learned and learned so much. And then afterwards we invented names, together with the people. How would you call it?
Yeah.
Your world, your
Yeah.
specific kind of structure boundness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then after a while there's some humor in it. We say, okay, here we are again, another round.
But I guess when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking these kind of structure bound, these kind of repetitive patterns that we live in within, sort of in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that they're more difficult for us to notice.
Mhm.
That one way of noticing sometimes is a focusing practice that eventually you stay with something that seems so familiar and you stay with it long enough and suddenly you realize
Yeah.
that's something.
Yes.
That's not just the way it is. That's actually something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or the other thing, and this comes from reading one of your papers, that maybe it's also from the presentation of difference.
Mm.
When you start to realize, oh my goodness, other people are so different than me, then
Oh,
the way you are becomes interesting.
yes, in a way. Yes. You start to think, and me? What
Yeah.
about me?
Yeah. You become a
Yeah.
little curious. It's like, oh,
Yes. 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 It's much, all these courses were about curiosity.
yeah,
Me, oh, really? What would I do in this situation?
yeah,
And telling each other, it takes away the shame. Of
um,
course we are ashamed, or we think, oh, we could never ever talk about things I'm thinking when I'm on my own.
mhm,
But over time, we get used to it, and then we can talk to each other, and then we can um, look for help in a different way. And we can say, look, I'm stuck again in this.
mhm,
And my
mhm.
patients or my trainees come back and say, I'm again in this, going round and round in circles. I say, don't don't worry, it's normal. Of,
Mhm.
of course we go back, but we can point to it, like you say, and like it's this again. And
Yeah.
so something to look at, to talk about, to handle.
Have you found particular ways that are quite useful in your experience of working with structure bound or frozen holes or whatever?
Yeah, the frozen holes, exactly. We found this term first in the 1964 article, the frozen holes. I loved it. I said, yes, exactly.
Hmm.
It's like something is flowing in a river and doesn't change.
Yeah, yeah.
Then later on, I discovered this early article with a structure bound, which I loved because it's not pathological.
Yeah.
It's not a disturbance where you have to go to a psychiatric
Hmm.
thing to find the right wrongness.
Yeah.
When I think about my practice with
Hmm.
normal clients or patients,
Yeah.
um, I think the best entry is when they come and say, I want to work on something I'm doing again and again.
Hmm.
Then I know, oh, there's
Hmm.
some, uh, they know already that they are doing things
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
This makes it much easier. And if not, it can take time until it happens between us. And so, in this relational way, I can try to name it and try to look what can we do, the two of us,
Hmm.
when this happens again and again.
Hmm. So just by bringing awareness to it and beginning to explore it.
Yes, to explore it and bring it into the relationship, as it's a
Yes.
relational thing always.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so it takes a little bit of courage for us as therapists, but of
Hmm. Hmm.
course, as Roger said, you have to be courageous anyway when you listen or when you are congruent, like he
Yeah. So
names it.
I'm getting the sense that you would welcome the use of sort of self-disclosure and being transparent with your clients at times. Yeah.
Mhm. I have to. It was not easy in the beginning, as you know, I'm rather a shy person and I don't intervene quickly. But after a while, I learned I have to. So I had to learn to, you know, be like this and open my mouth and say something. Yeah.
Just on the structure bound thing, um, again, it's reminded me of a recent paper of yours where you're talking about sort of teaching and professionalism.
Yes, it's
And
a paper which will come out at the end of the year in a person-centered journal.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
Um, I was wondering if we could say that the kind of professionalism that you're sort of challenging in that paper is almost like structure bound.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, you know, to that our profession gets more and more and more into this academic,
Yeah.
scientific things. We all have to do more and more of the same
Hmm.
to be academic, wanting to be highly professional.
Yeah.
And as I tried in this article, you can think about this word and what we are doing as professionals in a different way.
Hmm. How would you like to think about that word? How would you like to be able to define being professional as a therapist?
Hmm. Big question at the end of it. I don't mean that we don't read all this literature, and I don't mean that we do not have to know all this psychiatric diagnosis schemes and all the new things which come up. But what I mean is not, when I think about it now, that we shouldn't lose the basics
Hmm.
of what we are doing,
Hmm.
you know, person to person,
Yeah.
and not lose the, yes, all the things we talked about, this being embedded in situations and in a situation together. And when people go home, they have their things to handle with. And to prove in a way that, for example, finding out something about the structure boundness is a professional skill.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. What comes to me when I'm listening to you is it's like that we want to be careful not to lose the kind of foundational being qualities of,
exactly.
yeah, of being a therapist.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'd like to just ask if there's anything else that kind of you're developing or interested in or passionate about.
Another big question.
Yeah.
Awesome. But maybe as a first tentative thing to say is when I look outside and I so want to stay here
Mm-hmm.
as a place where I want to live and getting older. And recently had a kind of, I broke my arm, and suddenly it was all questioned.
Mm-hmm.
I I needed so much help. I couldn't uh, walk anymore the river as I have to climb. I need my hands, I need my
Mm-hmm.
legs, and I need my car to drive 300 meters to the next bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go on my own. But suddenly I thought, oh, does getting older mean I have to go away from here? Where I really have the feeling of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And what of my professional things I want to do needs what kind of uh, fitness? I don't know, to go on. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to sit here. I can do it until my mind is no longer no longer okay, but I can do it. But with walking and traveling and all these things, which is not so easy, or might not stay easy, getting older, there are questions. It's not only what I want to do, but what I am able
Yeah.
to do getting older.
Yeah.
Maybe the
That's,
first
yeah.
first question into this, yes.
Yeah, it feels profound
Hmm.
that it becomes a question of kind of what
Yes.
am I able to do, not just what do I want to do or where do I want to be, but
Mhm.
what is actually possible.
Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, it's the same thing, me in my situation.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah.
definition of situation changes.
Yeah.
I never thought about these questions when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
mhm.
And it's part of the profound aspect of it, to me at least, when I listen to you, is that you have a sense of belonging.
Mhm.
That is something about the way you live that situation. It's called belonging. And so the question of what is possible is very, very different if you're starting from that sense of the situation that you belong.
Yes. To
Yeah.
find new ways of belonging, perhaps. No,
Yeah.
it's not something I was thinking about. Only recently, this, of course, this question came up.
Hmm. Yeah. Like, is
Mm.
that sense of belonging something that you can bring with you to another environment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without living in nature, without being embedded in the seasons and
Yeah.
things. Yes, I have to think about it.
Yeah. It looks so beautiful there.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
You as well.
Okay. Bye for now.